everybody, welcome back to the Renatus Invest Edge. My name is Jay Stark. It's my privilege and my honor to get to welcome you to the call and to introduce you to our host for this call. Now, this is the Renatus Invest Edge, which means that we are designing this call to give you the edge in your real estate investing business by bringing out practitioners, individuals who are out there making it in the market today. And the reason why so many people come together, the reason why Renatus exists is because of our host. He's the founder, the CEO, an individual that it's been my absolute pleasure to get to work for more than 14 years now. And he is someone that I have seen through thick and thin and through the highs and the lows and through all of the hard times, always considering first and foremost how every decision we make is going to empower the people around him. That's the reason why in the Renatus tagline, it says, "We create real estate investors," because that is who he is and that is how he focuses his time and energy and efforts. So join me in welcoming to our call our host, the CEO and founder, Mr. Bob Snyder.
Jay, I'm thrilled to be here, and we've got a great show for you today. I'm telling you, you're going to want to take some copious notes because the information you're going to glean today could really help propel your business. But before we do that, I've just got to say that we've got this incredible channel and this great opportunity. We designed the Renatus Invest Edge so that we could help empower you as either a wannabe investor or an existing investor to up your game and to make great things happen. So we're always going to encourage you to listen, subscribe, like us, share us, get on the notifications so that we can assist you as we move forward. And every time we've got a new episode out, you're going to get a notification so you can go check it out. And then you can glean some of that wisdom from our practitioners of real estate that will help you in your own business. And now, having said that, have we got a good one for you today. Holy smokes, this is going to be a barn burner. I mean, Mr. Ben Kjar is a bit of a hero around, the Davis County area here in Utah. I mean, my kids grew up with him. Everybody knows Ben. They know of his accomplishments. They know of his accolades. They know of his sporting championships. As a matter of fact, last year, he just won the Masters Roman Greco Wrestling Championship worldwide, world champ. And he took second in freestyle. That is such an amazing accomplishment, especially from like an old guy. Now, when I say old guy, I'm 62 and Ben is much, much younger than I. But I was thrilled to see that he did it. And he did it, in great measure because he wanted to prove to the world that he could do it. He wanted to show his kids what could be done when you apply yourself and you don't let anything get in your way. He's applied that same tenacity to real estate. When he got involved with Renatus and got involved with our education, he was more of a wannabe investor. Even though, he'd certainly, done some things and had some success, but boy, took it to the next level. And he's going to share some wisdoms with you today that are going to absolutely blow your mind. So I can go on and on and on about Ben. Today he is a world-class speaker, trainer, athlete. He does it all, and real estate investor, right here in the Renatus community. So Ben, welcome to the Renatus Invest Edge. It's great to see you.
So glad to be here, guys. Serious. If you're a part of this community, congratulations. If you're not, you're about to jump into something that literally changed my life. You're right. I was a entrepreneur, and I wanted something that would set me up for a success path. Yeah. And you guys were that.
Well, you know what? You took it and ran with it. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Yeah. You absolutely crushed it, Ben. I've seen some of the homes that you have done. You've had property tours over there and showcased those to the community as well. So you could say, hey, this is how we found this property. This is what we've done to this property. This is why we didn't do other things. And this is how we're exiting out of it and what our ROI is going to be. And you've inspired so many people because you applied what you learned here in Renatus, and that made all the difference. Talk to us a little bit about that. Give us a little bit more background on your story, some of the cool things that led you into Renatus and into real estate investing. I'd love to hear, some of the strategies you worked on when you were going through the tough times. And then before we end today, man, we got to talk about the movie that's just coming out. Or has it been released yet?
Not released yet.
Not yet, but it's about to. Man, powerful story.
Yeah, you're awesome. I tell you what, guys, if you were like me, you learned early on that real estate, everybody talked about it. Whatever industry I knew people in, I saw people in the man, it didn't matter. Like whether they were an attorney, whether they were a school teacher, whether they ran their own businesses that was outside real estate, everybody came back to real estate. Whether they were renting or renting their properties, everybody came back to real estate. And for me, I just wanted to know how to do it because I didn't know how. I remember listening on the radio to some guru, and I showed up in the middle of a hotel. I remember he sold his package. I ran to the back of the room, and I didn't even, my checkbook was like, I took my checkbook and it was just empty, and I was just so fumed with like excitement. I'm like, oh, how much do I have to write the check for? I didn't even know. And it was a bus tour. The guy came back in town, and I don't want to say too much about it because I paid tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars for something that wouldn't be around 12 months later.
Wow.
The guy stopped. And what I didn't know about this guru is he knew one or two things.
Yeah.
I went back and I'm like, oh my gosh, at least I learned just a snippet of what he taught me. Going back to taking what you learn and absolutely implementing it, I did that.
Yeah.
And it worked. And so I'm like, I need more of this stuff, but preferably from people who are going to stick around. Right. And preferably from people who know more than one thing. Mm-hmm. I dissected literally from around the world. I dissected every company that said they did real estate training. And I stumbled across Renatus. I got a letter in the mail and I recognized a face. It was a man named Richard Stock. And I knew he was a family friend of me. I'm like, I know this guy. I showed up to this meeting. And in this meeting, I learned that there was a company that was not just nationwide, but you were even local to where I lived in Utah. And you had people that were masters in their trades. And I didn't have to show up to a hotel. I didn't have to wait for the bus tour to come once every 2 years.
Right.
I didn't have to wait for my mentor that was assigned to me Tuesday at 3 p.m. and then he wasn't available. I could literally get up at 4 a.m. or 4 p.m. and watch the masters at their trade anytime. And then look in the back office and see documents that I could implement that could help me do the actual work. Then I could collaborate with people like you and Richard Stock, and they could walk me through people themselves or people in the community. There was never a community in any of these other things.
Right.
And so I met people, I collaborated, I partnered with people who were way smarter than me. And it took me on the journey to, at one point, from starting with one home on seller's finance to flipping 40 homes at the same time around the country. And I vowed never to do that again because it was too much. But the point is, it allowed me a trajectory to grow. Why?
Yeah.
Because there was a platform that was available when I needed it. Mm-hmm. There was a tribe and a community. This was the coolest thing. That when I was investing in Chicago, I literally went to the meetings in Chicago and said, who knows bricklayers? Who knows tile guys? Who knows investors? And hands went up. They didn't even need a piece of the pie.
Right.
They literally said, you're part of the community. You go off of the same education we go off of. We get you. How can we help? That changed. It absolutely changed my trajectory to now I invest in properties all over the country, all different types. And literally, this was like the foundation of doing that.
Well, I love to hear that story. You know, it was kind of funny because we were talking about that this morning on one of our leadership calls with a number of folks, and one of them had talked about how Mitch Nelson, who you know, had kind of coined the phrase. I'm trying to remember. It was
collaboration and
competition put together. So
collaboration.
Collaboration. That's what it was. It was collaboration. Because I mean, competition's like this. Competition's always like this. Collaboration is what we're after, right? But at the same time, a little friendly competition is good for everybody.
Oh yeah.
So collaboration. I thought that was a great new word. We're
going to trademark that one. Collaboration, trademark.
Collaboration, yes, trademark, and we're going to make sure that it gets in the dictionary and makes its way there. But that's what you were able to experience, and so with that experience, what's gone on in your business?
You know what I learned early on, because my dad did a little bit of real estate investing.
Yeah.
But he was on the attorney side, so he had a little bit different skill set. Mm-hmm. And going down the attorney path wasn't what I wanted. And so I needed to learn a little bit different about the other trades of maybe I want to flip properties. Maybe I want to have some hold properties, some rentals. Mm-hmm. And I learned that I would need to learn how to last through the hard times.
Yeah.
Now, 2020 came. Mm-hmm. And I learned I didn't just want to last. Now, my background is wrestling.
Right.
And I just don't want to last in wrestling. I want to smash it. I want to kill it. And so I started studying people in the education that had done all these unique, creative ways to finance and find things during the hard times. And I remember in 2020, jumping on a plane when no one was willing to jump on a plane. I remember going to the hotels and them giving me like sacks, bagged breakfasts and say, good luck,
right.
Like, don't be here. And I'm like, am I the only one doing business around here? But I also remember Warren Buffett saying, basically, go into the home when the fire is on. Don't run away. Mm-hmm. While you're going in, I figured I might as well take some s'mores and some marshmallows and enjoy it. And I tell you what I've learned is that the competition is different when nobody's willing to compete. Mm-hmm. And so I went in the years of 2020 and I saw some niches. I saw some things that people were getting out of and coming in and whatever. And I decided to really step it up. Yeah. And Warren Buffett says, be greedy when people don't want to be greedy. And when people are greedy, step back a little bit.
Time to be fearful, right?
Time to be fearful. And so I took that. I took the education. I took the people around me. And we decided to step up when times were tough. And man, it's made all the difference.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting, because the masses, the majority of the folks out there around the world, they wait until an opportunity becomes self-evident before they get involved. And that's when the opportunity has passed. And that's a lesson to be learned in real estate investing as well. We've seen so many statistics, so many reports, not to mention my own research. And I just see that real estate is going to continue to, rise over the next 10 years. And those individuals who are sitting on the sidelines waiting for this massive correction where everything's going to be on sale, I think are going to be sorely disappointed. So you went through a period of time when there was a correction. Let's talk a little bit about how you thrived during that experience.
So I'll give you an example. When I jumped on that plane that day, it was to take me out to Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah.
And there was a storage unit complex of people that had been in this industry, and they saw everything shut down. And they're like, I need to sell. And I remember being on the plane saying, what am I doing? If nobody else is running towards this, why am I? And then keep replaying in my mind, no, this is what the people do that actually win.
Yeah.
This is what the people do that talk about in the education, to absolutely buy into yourself. And that's why that's literally what I saw the education as. If I'm going to invest in something and I can invest in myself and I can control, it's like going down to Vegas and controlling the table a little bit. Mm-hmm. What if you can control the chips just a little bit?
Yeah.
Well, this was a time when nobody else was competing. I remember buying a storage unit complex and going back and begging, just like lenders, please lend to me, please lend to me, and going through the fire. And about 11:58 p.m. the night before I had to have the money, getting the funding.
Wow.
12 months later, I would sell that property for twice the value, so $1,050,000. We put about 25 grand in renovation into it.
Yeah.
And cleaned it up, changed management, and a year later we would sell it for $2.1 million. And I learned, oh my gosh, I actually implemented what was being taught through even the fearful times.
Yeah.
I learned that when fear is out there, it's okay. Just don't let fear go undefeated.
Yeah.
Because there's been so many times, guys, that I allow fear to go undefeated. I allow Goliath to step out in the field and never raise my stone and raise my sling. That wasn't me anymore. And so now going forward, I'm willing to be David with strategy behind it in the education.
Right on. Man, what a beautiful story, and a great example too of what it takes. So you gave the example of David and Goliath, right? I mean, we all kind of know how that one ends.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert, right? But David was confident, and he went out there even though everyone else was fearful, because they knew what was on the line, right? But David was confident. How did you gain the confidence to take action when so many others were fearful?
Looking in the story of David, it's get this, his older brothers knew who he was best.
Yeah.
So they thought. And they were even telling him he's crazy. Guys, if you don't get what's going on in the real estate realm right now, it is an absolute bloodbath for the public eye. It is a golden opportunity for those who actually get what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's more homes being sold on the market than there are buyers. It's brilliant for buyers.
Yeah.
If you don't get that you are in the exact seat to be in the perfect spot to buy, you don't understand what's happening. You have no idea what's happening. What happened was that I stepped out in the field, being the David, and I was fearful. I call it my man diaper. If you don't think David was wearing a diaper going out into that field, looking at the huge giant come after him with a sword that was probably taller than him, you're wrong. David is wearing a man diaper, just like I do during some of these times. There's some sleepless nights. But I'm telling you, that means you're actually going after something that's going to make a difference. I'm telling you. So many people will gloss it over and they'll sell you on this or that. Hard times will happen. Buckle down. Invest twice as much as you did before on you, because you have some control over it, and then go all in. Mark my words. 5 years will come. Knock on wood, assuming that you're here, right? 5 years will come and you will look back on 2025, come 2030, and you're going to ask, I wish I would have bought.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have went all in. I wish I had the opportunity. Put on the man diaper, invest in you, and go in strategically. I'm not saying going in just with rolling your arms and just slinging the stones or slinging whatever. Going with a strategy. Focus on the target. Do your homework. Go home. Practice slinging the stones just like David did hundreds of times in the sheep fields. That's learning from the masters in their trade. And then learn to put it into practice with people around you that will support you.
Right. Right. That's the beauty about it. So the knowledge, the education, the institutional knowledge, surrounding yourself with a community of like-minded investors, being able to have mentors inside of the group that you could tap for that knowledge. What has that meant to you? What kind of deals have you done, and what kind of things are you still continuing to do?
We've done tons of deals. It's been fun because I've done deals with people that have been way more seasoned than me, and I've learned from them. And everybody gets to be the lower man on the totem pole, should we say, or less experience. Yeah. If you're that guy, you're on the right totem pole, my friends. Right. If you're on the top of the totem pole for too long, get another totem pole. Be in another room. Be the dumbest person in the room, right? And that's meant the world to me. I've also been in partnerships where I've been a little bit more seasoned and I've gotten maybe a little bit more equity, or I've had to not put so much money in. And my strategic history and my track record has spoken for itself. We've gotten people out of 9-to-5 jobs. We've gotten teachers out of teaching. We've gotten bankers out of banking, with the desire to do just that, with the desire to call their own shots. It hasn't always been, I'm not going to work 9-to-5. Now, sometimes you're going to work a little bit more, but it's on your terms. I worked a 9-to-5 job. It's for some people, it just wasn't for me. Yeah. All due respect with people that love that stuff. For me, it wasn't, and this is why. For what I do now, it's not necessarily that I just work 8 hours a day. There's some days I do, there's some days I don't, but I get the choice. And secondly, I'll never forget the day that I got fired from my 9-to-5 job. And I'll never forget a few months after that, feeling that was the best gift in the world, because I grew exponentially. I remember feeling like that day, it was weird. I walked out of the office doors and I had everything in my arms. And for some reason, I felt like that I was lighter. Yeah. Because I felt like I just had what I felt like was the worst thing happen. I got let go. Guys, I got let go from something I sucked at. Jim Carrey says this about his dad. He said, I wish my dad would have realized how incredibly funny he was. He wishes that his dad would have got fired from the warehouse and the assembly line that he worked at forever, because he would have seen his potential. What if your worst day, the death of your hope, was actually the birth of your real dream? Right. That's what it was for me. Yeah. It was the birth of my new potential that wasn't really new. It was there all along. I just shoved it down. I let the Vegas tables run the table. I had no control because I hadn't invested in me. Right. Well, I've always been a big believer that the most valuable real estate you're ever going to invest in is the 6 inches between your ears. So that puts you in the driver's seat to make some great things happen. Where do you see yourself, in another 5 years, 10 years with your real estate holdings? What everyone asks, what's your goal? What do you want to do? And for me, I love real estate, but real estate isn't the end game for me. Yeah. It's simply freedom. Real estate is the vehicle to give me time. There you go. And isn't it interesting? If you feel like you don't have to buy time, forget it, guys. We're all buying time. Whether you're showing up from 9 to 5, working from home, working from a location-based job, we're all buying our time back for what? So for me, it's my family and for what I feel like God has called me to do. And I feel like God has called me to inspire others to absolutely call their shot and step into it and go all in. Yeah. I was able to call my shot because I felt like I failed again and again and again. And my only rebound opportunity was, Ben, it's on you now. Yeah. And so I was almost forced to go all in. What if you weren't forced to go all in? What if it was your decision years before it had to be? I tell everyone, I felt like I wasted literally almost 2 years of my life. It's almost a shame. Like, imagine dying in this life, going back, we face God, go through the pearly gates, and actually going face to face with God, pulling out your theoretical checkbook and being like, what's 2 years going to give me? How much is that? Come on, what is it going to cost to give me 2 years? You can't buy that time back.
Right.
I felt like I was in a position that was a spot where I wasn't able to live my potential for those 2 years. And the biggest gift was getting let go.
Yeah.
And it was that birth to actually take control of my life.
Well, you've been smart about it. It reminds me of a great story about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold. And what a lot of people don't understand is, he obviously came to this country, had a huge entrepreneurial spirit. He wanted to overcome all of the naysayers and the negative Nellies out there who were trying to steal his dream. And he pursued it and became such a huge sensation in the bodybuilding world that he wanted to pursue a life in acting. Now, Arnold was an entrepreneur, so he developed nutritional lines. He was doing all sorts of different things in his early 20s. But he was taking all of the money from that and he was piling it into real estate. That's where he put it. He bought apartment complexes. And when he finally got a stable income from the rents that were coming in from the apartment complexes, he had bought his time, much like you just talked about, right? And from there, then he said he had the latitude to go out there and choose the roles that fit him when it came to acting. The first of which, it was Conan the Barbarian. There's so many individuals in Hollywood, so many individuals in the performing arts or in music or anything else. They're waiting tables, they're bussing, they're doing, all sorts of different things. So they've got a little bit of flexibility of schedule, but they're struggling from paycheck to paycheck and praying that they can just take whatever comes up so that they can afford to stay in the game a little bit longer. Arnold went in strategic. He went in, he did real estate first, bought his time back so that then he had the financial staying power to wait, to hold, to be patient for the role that fit him. And that's what launched his career and created the success story that we know today.
You know what? That's like so inspired, because I wasn't sure if real estate was actually the thing that, like, Ben, no, this is what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. God wants you to do this. That's it. I wasn't sure if that was it. You guys are probably thinking that too. Like, no, I really actually want to be a teacher, Ben.
Yeah.
God has called me to inspire the 7th grade kids about science. But it only pays $45,000 a year, maybe with a master's degree, $75,000 a year. Good luck living off of that. It's unfortunate that the country is to that point with expenses, right? But here's the thing. I have spoken in so many elementaries, hundreds, and it just didn't pay that much. Maybe $500, $1,000, $3,000, $5,000, whatever.
Yeah.
But you can't make like a decent living that way.
Right.
Real estate has given me the opportunity to have options. Much like Conan, instead of acting, real estate to acting, it's been real estate to speaking. And having 3 kids, all young kids, I didn't want to miss out on opportunities. So now, because I did the real estate, not knowing that real estate would be the platform to what I felt like I was really called for, which was speaking and inspiring and influencing, it has done that. People call me and they're like, well, this is my only budget, this is what I can do. And instead of missing my boys or my girls game that means the world to them, I can now say no. I can now be there at that event because I've been able to have a track record, education, a platform, and a curriculum and a tribe that I'm like, well, you know what? I can say no to that because I can.
Yeah.
There's options.
Yeah. Right.
And so, man, I didn't know that about him.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, powerful story. There's an awful lot out there too. And here's the lesson in that. I mean, there's a lot of lessons in that, but here's what really impressed me. So Arnold wasn't running out to just take every last dime that he had so that he could buy a Ferrari so that he could impress his friends, so that he could try to gain some sort of street credibility, right? That's not what he was after. He was after making sure that his monthly bills were paid so that he would be free financially to be able to do with his time whatever he wanted, and he would be able to pursue those goals. So many folks are living paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling to get by, that they can't see any light at the end of the tunnel, and they have to just take whatever is given them rather than design a life that could then produce for them what they really want. And that's what I love about real estate. I think there's a lot of different ways to make money out there in the marketplace, but the one thing that continues to hold true for me is that I don't have to worry about money month after month, year after year, because of my paid for real estate and the income that I have derived from it every single month through rents. And that is stable. Plus, it's insurable, against loss. How many investments can say that?
Yeah.
It appreciates over time, so it gains in value. Rents go up as time goes on, so it's inflation resistant.
Yeah.
There's so many great aspects of it. But, the reason why I asked you, the question, where do you see yourself because of your real estate, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Let's talk a little bit about, some of your accomplishments. You just went back into serious training so that you could become the world Masters Roman Greco champion.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do that, and how were you able to facilitate that?
I was sitting at a conference in Florida, and a guy named Ed Milet gets up. He's a speaker.
Yep.
And I had just gone through my kids' first wrestling season. And I was yelling from the corner, half Nelson, double A, come on, do this, do that. And they're like, Dad, what do you know about wrestling? They'd never seen me compete.
Oh, wow.
I haven't competed for like 12 years or whatever. And so my kids are 5 and 6, right? And I was an idiot, right? You're never the king in your own kingdom at that point.
Never.
And
every time I come home from a big event or a big conference, my cup is full. I'm feeling fully validated. I get to come home to my family, and they remind me just how insignificant I am.
Do the dishes.
Take the garbage out.
The toilets haven't been cleaned.
Yeah, it's the ultimate equalizer. That's what it is.
But so I felt that, right? I get back from these speaking events or whatever, and they roll out the red carpet for you, and my kids are like, I get that. So I was sitting in that conference, and when he said this, one of the most insidious forms of child neglect is parents not reaching their potential and live their dreams. And what I heard and what struck a chord to me, to the soul, was you are literally training child abuse or doing child abuse if you are not living to your top potential.
Wow.
And I'm like, Ben, shut your mouth in the corner, and why don't you go show them? A few months later, without having to in wrestling in like 10 years or at that point, I strapped up my singlet in wrestling, lost weight, went down to Las Vegas, did the work, did practice, trained with the college guys locally, was bruised and sore, but all along the way, my kids were watching, not listening, not getting their ears full, not talking about real estate, not talking about doing the deals, not doing this. I was doing the action. I show up with my kids in my corner, and the roles were reversed. And I outscored my opponent 64-2.
Wow.
And we went on, and it was so interesting. I'm literally sitting there in Las Vegas, and in the corner of my ear, I could hear my daughters and my kids, "Smash him, Daddy, smash him." And I heard my daughter say, "Champion of the world, champion of the world," because the Olympics had just happened recently before that. And we'd done our own Olympic ceremonies in the family room with my kids. And shortly after that, I would be invited to go represent the United States of America in Greece. And I was able to take my kids out to Greece, and they watched Dad take second in the world, not accomplish my goal. And I bring that up. I don't jump to the gold medal accomplishment first, because I thought, and if this isn't a lesson, I don't know what is. You guys are sitting on the couch. You guys are not doing the thing. You're not accomplishing. You're not stepping into who you're supposed to be because of this exact same thing. Fear of failure, fear of not being enough. And I was ahead by 1 point against Azerbaijan in freestyle with 1 minute to go, and I stopped wrestling. Fear of failure, fear of losing. I ended up not winning. I have a picture when I speak of my boy just crying in the stand. Not because I lost. He saw his dad disappointed. I was terrified that when we got on the podium, when the Azerbaijan flag raised above the United States of America flag and the national anthem of Azerbaijan played and the silver medal went on my chest, that when I would go back to the apartment that night, that my kids and my wife would be disappointed. That's why we don't do stuff. That's why we don't step on the mat. That's why we don't sign up. That's why we don't step on the starting line.
Right.
I went back to the apartment that night, and they didn't know what the silver medal meant. They grabbed the silver medal and ran around the apartment and yelled, "Champion of the world!" And that was a lesson to me. My wife hugged me tighter that night than probably even if I would have won, because I put myself in the batter's box and I freaking swung.
Yeah.
And though I may think I missed, I swung. I stepped in, I saw the pitch, and it was a fastball, and I swung instead of just sitting in the stands. Yeah. Luckily, though, just a few days later in Greece, I had the opportunity to step in the batter's box again in Greco-Roman. I wrestled 2 styles. And I made a firm decision and promised myself, win, lose, or draw, because sometimes you can't control it, the outcome.
Right.
Luck, slip on the mat, whatever happens, you don't feel well that day, that I wasn't going to stop. And that I was going to put it out there, and I was going to swing as hard as I could. With a minute left against Italy in the World Finals, my kids are in the stands, wearing the silver medal as proud as could be. And I remember the saying, the biggest form of child neglect is parents, adults, not living to their potential. And the potential for me was not giving up, not stopping. With 8 seconds left, I was ahead. And I remember I just kept pushing. I kept pushing. No fear of failure. I just kept pushing. My kids were watching. It didn't matter if I won or lost. They were there to support me. They're just glad I showed up. The Italian gave up. I wasn't looking at the clock. The Italian came and shook my hand with 8 seconds left. And I thought it was over because I made the decision to not stop. I thought it was over. He had given up. I went to go shake his hand, thinking it was over. And my coach was like, don't stop, it's not over. And so I got back in position and I won. National anthem goes on, the flag goes to the top, I get the gold medal. And right after that, my kids took the American flag, and with the silver medal and the gold medal in tow around their necks, they ran around the mat saying, and champion of the world, daddy won, daddy won, daddy won. It didn't matter if I had gotten the gold in both medals. As a matter of fact, the silver medal was more important to me, as well as all the losses that I've had in even real estate, because it taught me lessons. My dad said, Ben, that's the best cost of education that you'll ever have.
Yeah.
Now you know better. And so what have I learned from all this? I have learned that I had a decision to live my top potential. And that meant losing.
Yeah.
It meant learning. It meant investing in me. And it meant having the team around me that loved me no matter what. And as I've been able to do that, some really cool things have happened.
Man, what a great story. What an amazing outcome. Because, we've got to be able to find the wins along the way. Whether we win or we lose, I mean, the old adage is true that we will learn, right? As long as we're open to the lesson. And then that's what helps us to be better. But what a powerful reframe. That we're actually engaged in child neglect if we as parents aren't living up to our full potential. I've never thought about that before. But boy, when you put it in those terms, it hits home.
That's really
a chord.
Yeah, that's really giving your kids the permission to not play to their potential, because they've got a whole lifetime of example of you not playing to your potential.
Right. And I want my kids to be better than me.
Yeah.
But they don't know any better.
Right.
So I adopted my kids. Those of you guys don't know my story. I adopted my kids, 3 kids in 13 months, and I knew about them, the first 2, like within hours. I didn't have 9 months to prep. I didn't have any of that. I was a dad within hours of taking the phone call. What I learned very rudely, very quickly, very shockingly, was, oh my gosh, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. And they're watching me always. And I create their reality.
Right.
If our potential is a 10 and we default to a 7, that's their reality in top potential. That is so cool and so scary that we have that control.
Right.
So when I got myself out of living as a robot, fitting in, not standing out, holy cow, that was a life-changing decision that I chose to step into.
Yeah. An interesting observation, and I don't have any science to back this up, but I do know there's science out there, and that's what kind of happens on a cellular level. I mean, we know that there's memory in the cells. We know that our DNA, takes on lessons learned from our ancestors and passes those down. And what you did for your kids, have you ever thought about the fact that what you did for your kids was an example that is going to be carried through to their children and through generations down the line?
My kids, I feel like I have to put bubble wrap on them sometimes because I feel like it's given them courage to do things they shouldn't have courage in doing. I'm like, you can't throw rocks at cars and you can't jump off that mountain. But it allows them to feel, if you can do it, at least I can attempt too.
Yeah.
And I've had friends that even me wanting that say that is the biggest X factor, that you can't train kids. They don't teach that in school.
Yeah.
Right now, more than ever, my friends, if you can train your kids, if you can teach them anything, it's confidence and grit.
Right.
And how do you train them and teach them? You have confidence and grit. You step up. You do it, and let them watch.
Man, it's all about demonstration, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, leading by example and making some things happen. But you know what? As you shared that story, I just have to ask for clarification. So have they seen you throw rocks at cars?
Or jump off of mountains?
Yeah, no kidding. It just gives them courage in whatever they're doing, right? And
Right.
I wish it wasn't throwing rocks at cars sometimes.
But you know what? That's a powerful lesson right there. It's not that they're necessarily going to follow in your exact footsteps, but they will follow the pattern of behavior that you set out before them.
Yeah.
So having that courage, having that strength, they're going to have that as well. They may or may not actually take it up in wrestling, but they'll take it up in other areas of their life.
Yeah.
And so I love that. That's a powerful example.
What we do in my family is when people fall over, when people are riding their bike and they crash, we celebrate the new beginning, not what people think is the dead end. Not the failure. We celebrate the new beginning. So it's crazy. My kids are starting to understand, I almost did that. Let's do it again. And so when kids crash, it's not like, oh, you're okay, are you okay, are you okay? It's, that was awesome. Are you kidding me? I can't believe you did that. How you spun out of that. Oh my gosh, look at the scar on your knee. That's so cool. And so they did that for me in the silver medal.
Yeah.
Dad, look what you did. Look at the medal. You were on the podium. When I felt like I was failing, we changed the narrative.
Right.
And life is never the same when you do that.
Yeah. You know, isn't it amazing how the energy of the crowd can feed you? I mean, it almost gives you a superpower. I've experienced that to some degree, but never as much as this one moment in time. I was hosting an event. We called it the Rocky Mountain Summit. It was up in Park City. And one of the individuals there was a professional. He was trained, you know, and he did kind of a bending arrow ceremony. You've probably seen those or been through it yourself, where literally they take an arrow and they take the tip and they place it right here. Actually, it was right kind of in this area right here.
Oh,
This makes me...
Yeah. And then, you know, you tighten the muscles around your neck, and then you are supposed to, one end's against a wall and the other is against your throat, and you are to walk to the wall.
Wow.
And I started out and I'm like, oh, this is going to kill me. I'm not going to do this. It's going to kill me. And then he said, okay, everybody, I need everybody in the room to come together to support Bob in this effort. And they started chanting and they started encouraging and they started clapping and hooting and holler. I've never felt such a surge of emotion and confidence and energy in my entire life. And just like that, I moved to the wall and snapped that arrow. It was incredible. And I've got to believe that, you know, in an experience like that with your kids on the mat, that you feed off of that as well.
Yeah, I call it my superpower.
Yeah.
Your superpower in that moment. The arrow didn't change.
Right.
The wall didn't get further away.
No, it was immovable.
Nothing changed. The superpower was the community coming together and booing you on to release the real superpower within you. For me, my secret weapon was were my kids. They were literally in my corner, and win, lose, or draw, they were there chanting me on, cheering me on, and I'm like, holy cow. Even in the practice, you can't press record on or press play on something you've never recorded before. Even when my coach in the practice room would tell me 20 push-ups, I imagine my kids being there.
Oh yeah.
Thinking, am I just going to be average, or am I going to choose to be disobedient to average? And so I chose to be disobedient to average, and I chose to do 22 push-ups, 25 push-ups, because you don't belong on the podium. You don't belong getting a gold medal by being average.
Wow.
And so that was fun for me.
Can I drop a quick disclaimer in here? That,
yes, drop a disclaimer.
These stunts are done by trained professionals and shouldn't be attempted at home.
Thank you for doing that.
Don't throw rocks at cars.
Don't throw rocks at cars.
Walk into arrows.
I do have a question, though, because, you know, we're talking about a number of different things. We're talking about the transference of energy and the belief and conviction that can transfer from one individual to another, and how it can also be reciprocated. What has it meant to you to have a community around you when it comes to real estate investing?
The same thing as you walking into the arrow.
Yeah.
It's literally no different. The arrow was the real estate deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There were arrows everywhere. Mm-hmm. It was the moment that I had the transfer of energy from my kids on the wrestling mat, from my associates or my buddies or my tribe or my friends or my comrade in the community of Renatus, that allowed me to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get on the plane when nobody is getting on the plane in 2020.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to stay up till midnight believing that this will happen when nobody wanted to lend money. I'm going to move forward. It's no different. I made the decision from my silver medal to my gold medal to not stop moving forward. That was the difference. Right now, in the economy, you're going to feel drowned out. I guarantee it. And the guys that are saying no, yeah, right. They're wearing a diaper underneath their pants. I promise you. They're wetting their pants at times. It's hard. Things are tough. But are you willing to still move forward? The community allowed me that energy to move forward, even though the arrow I felt was right there, you know?
Man, that's fantastic. Jay, I know you've been kind of watching comments and different things and have formulated some questions. We got about 11 minutes left.
Well, we only have a couple minutes because we need to save you a couple of minutes
Okay.
But yeah, if you're on the line with us and you have any questions for Ben, if there's anything that you just have a burning desire to know more about, let us know in the comments right now. Ben, I know that in your life there are non-negotiables. What are some of those non-negotiables? What are some of those habits, those tendencies that you will never give up on?
I have a guy right now that wants to pay me a bunch of money to do some consulting for his business. And he's on the East Coast, and he says his only times available are from like 9:30 to 11:30 Eastern time. That is my morning routine with my family and my kids now that it's summertime. And so I told him, buddy, I don't know how it's going to work, but it needs to work somehow, because this is and I told him literally on the way here on a voice text, my sacred time.
Yeah.
And once I negotiate away from that, or don't have these be non-negotiables, I become just a feather in the wind.
Yep.
And I go for the money, and I go for this, and I go for that. And I've been told from mentors of mine, once you commit to having money be your first priority over all other principles, you've already failed.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting how he came back and all of a sudden had more times available. And it's because I created that amount of value in my own.
Right.
Now, my communication with consulting with him will be way easier because he's coming to someone else, whether it's me or somebody else, because he's lacking somewhere in his value structure, because he's allowing the non-negotiables to become negotiable.
Right.
And so hopefully without teaching him that in some type of phone call, it was already taught.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
That's awesome. So Aubrey asked this question: what advice would you give to someone who is searching to find their calling in life?
That is such a good question. A mentor of mine told me this when I asked him the same thing. He was one of the first CEOs of Einstein Bagels. And he said this, Ben, what do you do when people think you are off task? What do you do in your free time? When I first started real estate, what was I doing? I was literally watching Fixer Upper. I would go to sleep, have my pillow talk with my wife before I went to sleep, say prayers, she would turn over, my phone would come to my face, I would scroll the MLS, dreaming about buying these properties. What if I was just Chip and Joanna Gaines? What would I do with this property? I loved the transition of a home to be what it would be after a flip. I think we're all born to create.
Yeah.
I think our maker is a creator. And coming from him, I believe we are meant to create. And I love the ability to create real estate art. And I believe that's what it was. So if you think you're off task, but you're actually defaulting to what really is moving you and gives you passion, look a little bit more into that. And then to actually monetize it, I'm going to push him a little bit more. There's a book called Good to Great, and it talks about 3 things. What are you passionate in doing? It's not enough. Secondly, you have to think about how can you start to be the best in the world at it. I don't say that lightly. People will not make money if they just go in with pure passion. You have to have skills behind it. You have to have education, and you have to be a specialist in that trade. Once you found something you're passionate about, you've got the education to be very, very skillful in that, then the third will take care of itself. You will get paid handsomely.
Yeah.
Once you get paid handsomely, you'll be able to do that thing full time. That's when things start clicking.
Awesome. That's amazing. I love your wisdoms. I love the way that you are able to couple together your story and then extract from that these elements that all of us can apply in our life and in our business. And I so appreciate your passion it's easy to feel just how much you are in love with your own life and your own opportunity, just spending a couple minutes with you. That's amazing. Bob, I know we've got about 5 minutes left, though. Do you want to go through a couple of the announcements that you've got?
Well, I think that we should, but I've just got to say, Ben, thanks for being with us, man. I'm telling you, it's always a pleasure and a joy for me. Every single time I see you, I don't know what it is about your energy, but it just puts a smile on my face, and I get a little bit of a lift in my step, right?
Me too.
And I love you, man. I love having you part of the community, and I love what you're doing for your family and for individuals literally around the world, because now your message is not just your own; you're sharing it widely.
Yeah.
And what a gift. It really is. I wonder how many people, are pointing back even in this moment going, I changed my life because I heard this guy, Ben Kjar, say this.
Wow.
It changes me. I told you that as we got started, that the thought that you shared with me the last time we spoke is one that I repeat to myself now every single time that I think about negotiating against my best self. And I'm just like, no, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to be the champion of my own life.
I love it.
So thanks for being our special guest here on the Renatus Invest Edge. I can't wait for the next time, because I'm sure there will be a next time.
Yeah.
And anyway, and if there's anything we can do to help support you and serve you, just, we're just a phone call away.
You care if I take 10 seconds?
10 seconds. You go right ahead.
You guys, tell you what, you felt called. Right now we've talked. I know you guys have felt something. You're like, that should be me. Now it's the opportunity to implement.
Yeah.
You have two decisions. You're going to go away and do nothing. And you're going to live with regret, or you are going to do. Be the doer. Be the person that's a human being, not a human wanting.
Oh, man, thank you for wrapping with that. And you know what? I neglected to say one thing, and that is you got a movie coming out. Tell them the name of the movie, what it's about, and how they can see it.
Guys, go to standoutfilm.com, and we have gone to film festivals around the country. We've had awards being won. I have the coolest producers, like Jared Hess from Minecraft is one of my producers.
Right.
I'm the luckiest guy in the world. More than anything, guys, I would love to just be in contact with you. It'll come out probably later this year, but in sake of time, I just want to connect with you. Would love to just absolutely jump on a call, link with me on social media under Ben Kjar, and God bless you guys. And instead of fitting in a world of so many people that are robotic, choose to stand out, and that's the name of the film.
Oof.
Nice.
Awesome, man. Thank you, Ben. Thank you so much for that. Well, listen, I got to get right into a few announcements for our community members because they want to know what's going on. But before I do, what's popping up on your screen is a QR code and a link there, because it may be that, you're looking at this going, hey, listen, I'm a seasoned investor, but I need to refine and hone my skills. I need to build on that skill stack that I've developed. We can help with that. If you're a brand new individual and you don't know anything about real estate investing and you want to know more, well, listen, we can help with that as well. There's only one way to figure out whether or not, we're a good fit for you and you're a good fit for us. And that is, book a 15-minute free consultation with one of our real estate investors. Let's have a conversation about it and see whether or not we can help each other. So to do that, the QR code or the link on your screen will direct you and bring you to the right place. Now, the next slide that I'm going to kick up here is our Fall Summit. This is the 2025 Renatus E3 Fall Summit. You do not want to miss this, man. I'll tell you, here's the dates. It's October 23rd through the 25th in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is going to be a barn burner. It really is. We're pulling out all the stops. We've got so many incredible educators that are going to be with us. Jeff Armstrong is one of the premier individuals in the entire country when it comes to seller finance notes. Jeff's going to be there to teach individuals, the tricks of his trade and how this has become such an incredibly lucrative business for him and his family. Whitney Stark is going to be there. Now, Whitney, Jay gets really excited about this because
yes, I do.
The last name Stark, well, that's indicative of a more eternal connection there.
Yep.
This is Jay's wife, Whitney. Whitney started out as a student, and now she has become an educator. She's been an instructor with us since 2021. She has raised millions and millions of dollars. She's going to be talking about private and hard money, real estate foundations, and she does so many incredible things for the community. You don't want to miss that. Those are just two of, what are we up to now? 29 speakers, 29 speakers, and 3 powerful days of education and training. It's going to be an absolutely epic event you do not want to miss. You want to kick your real estate business into high gear, this is the place to be. We're going to give you more details on future Renatus Invest Edge episodes, but put it on the calendar, October 23rd to the 25th. More details to follow. And then I'm just going to wrap with this, man. It's really simple. If home is where the heart is, shouldn't your business be there too? Because if you're a real estate investor, that's exactly your base of operations. Hey, we appreciate everybody, and we hope you have a fantastic week. Good day, and God bless.